It is 6 p.m. on January 25th, 2023. We'll call the meeting of the Portola City Council to order. Please join the council in making the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Council Member Turner.
Here.
Council Member Pyler.
Here.
I'm gonna, Mayor Pro Tem Powers.
Here.
Mayor Cooley.
Here.
And I waited to call on Council Member Morton because she is joining us via Zoom. And I've just asked you to unmute.
Pat's here.
Okay, and Councilmember Morton's here.
Everyone is in attendance. We have a quorum. Item number 2 on our agenda tonight is public comment. This section is intended to provide members of the public with an opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on this agenda. Are there any members of the public who would like to make comments? We have a hand raised.
We do.
Hello, can you hear me?
Ending in 4728.
Yes, hey, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Josh Hart, resident of Portola. Just wanted to say a few words. Been meaning to talk about this for a while, but yeah, sadly, several weeks ago, actually several months ago at this point, a bear cub was hit by the Portola Park by a speeding driver, and didn't get in the paper or the blotter, and to my knowledge, it wasn't discussed at the city council meeting. I don't think anyone was ever caught for speeding through this area by the park, to my knowledge. But witnesses say the mama bear was beside herself in the park after her cub was killed, as any mother would be if she saw her cub killed in front of her. Killed her child in front of her, and this is a really dangerous spot. People speed through here past the city council chambers, the post office. I don't think enforcement is really the answer, because we have such thin police presence in Portola, but we do need traffic calming in the area. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of pedestrian, child traffic. The people go through between the park and the library, and it's only a matter of time before a human child is killed, and there's a human mother in the park beside herself. So yes, we need to fill the potholes, but we also need to think about how the Portola, the future of Portola is for the kids, for people visiting the park, for pedestrians, and for cyclists. And this really is, hazard. People do speed through there. There needs to be something done, before there's further tragedy. Something like a raised area, where cars have to go up on a raised area, just to slow them down physically in that area would be a really good thing. The appropriate speed is 15 or 20 miles an hour, not 30 or 40 as some people go. So, our larger level, a system of car dependence that we have now in this culture, it's hurting wildlife, it's hurting people. There is a constant flow of helicopter traffic from injured people on these rural roads. We need to think about the future and about diversifying our transportation systems. We need better public transport. We need to take bicycle and pedestrian traffic seriously, particularly within the city of Portola. And people are just not going to want to live here if they can't have these amenities, if their families can't be raised, if their kids can't be raised in a safe environment. So yeah, just wanted the council to consider that. If there's any opportunities for funding in the future or planning effort that would address the area around the park and connect the library and the post office to the park and the neighborhoods, I think that would be a really big positive for the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comment this evening? Any council members wishing to make public comment? Not public comment is closed. We're moving on to item number 3, city communications. City council member communications. Council member Turner, do you have anything to report?
I went to the new city council members training last week in Sacramento. Met a lot of really nice people, got a lot of new ideas, and learned a few things that I thought I knew that I didn't. So it was very informative.
Thank you. Council member Morton, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, I attended the 2 public meetings on the Beckworth Peak Fire District, and I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Pyler, any report?
Well, I attended my first Plumas County Transportation Committee meeting. I look forward to being involved with that.
Thank you. Councilmember Powers.
Yes, I attended the Transportation Commission meeting as well. Also attended the fire meeting in Portola, not the one in Chilcoot. Very well attended. I was called out and met with the owners of Intermountain Disposal, just for a chat. We'll talk about that more in an infrastructure committee. They just had suggestions. It was just an informal meeting. I heard today some interesting news about the new courthouse. Did I say new courthouse? What I meant was a courthouse that was previously new and now sits idle up on the hill behind us, and maybe some action and movement on that, but we will know later. I'll have to report back on that. Read through the updates to the code, and then got a volunteer to help with setting up the music in the park for the summer. So we're doing that as a committee this year instead of wandering in the desert by myself. So that's good stuff. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I have been quite busy with the proposed reorganization of fire and emergency services in our area, along with our 3 partners in that. Each of our governing boards will be voting on a resolution, or considering and likely voting on a resolution that would take that to the next stage of development, and that will occur during the month of February. We will be coming back to the city council for that purpose on February 22nd. That's the end of my report. That's now for any committee reports. Hearing none, we'll move to item B, staff communications. Do we have a fire report this evening?
I don't see anyone on for a fire report.
You, sheriff's report.
I did receive a message from Sergeant Clumby that he will not be able to make it today. They have a new schedule that's kind of run the deputies thin the last week, especially today. So hopefully the county can sort that stuff out and give them some reprieve and be able to come back and report.
And air quality report. Mickey, do you have any report for us?
Hey everyone, yeah, just a quick one. We through one of our grants, it's a 2018 targeted airshed grant. We're able to purchase purple air monitors, which give you localized PM 2.5 air quality alerts in your area. So we have a decent amount of purple air monitors. So we're looking for volunteers in the community that would like to set one up. So you can see several of them already on the map in our area. You can call the Air District if you're interested, and we can get that set up at your place pretty easy. It just requires Wi-Fi and an external outlet. Other than that, I think we're good.
Thank you for the report. Item C is city manager report.
I have very little to report other than we've just been kind of chasing snow this month and handling all the things related to severe weather. This preparing for city council meetings and the upcoming year with goals and budget preparation, and nothing specific that we can't cover in the meeting, the rest of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Move to item number 4, the consent agenda. These items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. The city council will act upon them at one time without discussion. Any council members, staff members, or interested parties may request that an item be removed from the consent calendar agenda for discussion. Additional budget appropriations will require a 4/5 roll call vote. The consent agenda is comprised of 2 elements. One is claims, which would require the adoption of resolution number 2540. The other, item B, is minutes, and that would be the approval of October 26th, 2022 and January 11th, 2023 minutes. Does any party wish removal of either of those items? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for adoption.
I'll make the motion to adopt resolution 2540, authorize the payment and claims for the period of January 12th, 2022 through January 25th, 2023. Also would like to continue the motion to approve the minutes approval for October 26th, 2022 and January 11th, 2023.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Turner,
Yes.
Councilmember Morton,
Yes.
Councilmember Pyler,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Powers,
Yes.
Mayor Cooley.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 5 on the agenda, mid-year financial update for the fiscal year 2022-23 and draft budget schedule. And we'll call on Susan Scarlett, the financial officer, to make that presentation.
Thank you. So we have 5 attachments in front of you. And we'll go ahead and start with the cash and receivables report comparison. So this is 3 years to give you a trend idea. The first section is the general fund and unrestricted. And you can see that we can hold our own in that one. The council's very conservative nature on financials has kept us in really good shape. In that section, the traffic impact fee that goes up a little bit, and that's something that we probably should address at some time. Vehicle abatement, while there was $12,000 at the end of 22, and by the way, these are audited numbers. That will be 0 this year because we will be using the rest of those funds for vehicle abatement. And then the $7,500 disc golf set aside that the council approved is on here as an asset, as a cash asset. And just of note, the note receivable Eastern Plumas, as you can see, you know, they paid a loan and that goes down every year. But overall, the city's in good financial cash shape. And 207, which is streets, snow removal, and RMRA, which is the Repair and Maintenance Act. You'll see there's no ending cash balance in 207 and 208 at year end, because we actually have to transfer money from the general fund to cover those. And we don't do, as you know, what we call due to and due from. So money is actually transferred out of the general fund to cover streets and snow. The RMRA, we have enough in there now for hopefully, some projects in the spring. Last year, none of those funds were spent. This year, there's $85,000 in there. And then the 215 CDBG is really kind of a misnomer. It started out as CDBG because we were getting funds back from housing loans. And then that turned into what's called miscellaneous money that we could spend on anything. So this fund has been used for more along the economic development lines. And as you can see, it gets spent down quite a bit every year. And as I mentioned to the council before, once Fund 215 goes down to zero, then any expenses that we're putting in 215 right now will end up in the general fund. On STIP projects, state and transportation improvement projects, that's strictly a matter of timing with where we are in terms of the project. Sometimes we'll have very little in the year, and sometimes we'll have a couple million that we spend, but the balances should always go back to zero. Water has stayed pretty even. The infrastructure maintenance account that the council set up, we put whatever is left from system maintenance that we don't spend in a budget year goes to the infrastructure maintenance account. So that's been increasing as we go. That money can be spent on whatever the council chooses, whenever it chooses. Facility fees, those are on new construction. And the water treatment plant maintenance account is the $42,000 that you put aside every year in case it would never rebuild a plant, but it certainly could replace a membrane. So, and then sewer wastewater capital reserve was set up years ago, and the last time we used it for sewer pond clean out, which is an approved use. And then down in solid waste, once we have the general fund paid off for the landfill closure, the council agreed to continue to set aside all the money that we get from landfill closure fee toward the state's requirement for the potential re-closing of the landfill and whatever else they might come up with. The issue there was that we could do a pledge of revenue, but we're all very uncomfortable with just pledging revenue that isn't there. So this gives us an opportunity to put the money aside that was part of an estimate about what it would take to fix the landfill if it needed to be. So that pretty much tells you where we are cash wise. As you know, we only have one loan, and that's in the water fund. And if you look at the health of the city on the list of California cities, we are in very good shape. So attachment number 2 is the spreadsheet that you see always in the budget and in our year-to-dates. I always put a little caveat at the top that says preliminary coding changes may apply, because sometimes I don't get through looking at every detail until later. So you'll see that revenue in the general fund is only at 42%. It's actually a little lower than that because part of that money is second of the ARPA funds. We do not have the first payment from the county for property taxes yet. Normally we get them by now. Much like last year when we didn't get them by this time, I'll come back when I do get them and let you know what those were. And on this sheet, some things are going to be at 100%. Auditing fees, the audit's been done since last November. So that's at 100%. Things like water, like the water and sewer, Mayor Cooley asked me about, that's at 94%. We are only halfway through the year, but you have to remember that this covers almost all of last summer in the parks. And staff is really working on looking at ways to decrease the water usage in the parks. So that is being worked on. Let's see. You'll see over in 208 in the snow fund, there's no revenue yet. That's because we don't really get that until May. It's a one-time payment and it's based on the street report that we turn in the fall. And we get back half of whatever we spent the year before. So that will be coming in, but it doesn't come in till late. Not a whole lot else that's unusual. In terms of the general fund or the special revenue funds. And the second page is the enterprise funds, water, sewer, and solid waste. And there's nothing really remarkable to talk about there. I am going to hit on a couple things when we get to the other line, which is the 3 pages past this. So if you go to the other expenses that are past the spreadsheet, just a couple things to point out. So the code enforcement, professional services, that looks like it's at 134%. That part of that is a coding issue because we're coding to a number of categories there. And that's why I always put down coding changes may apply. LAFCO, of course, is at 100% because as soon as we get that amount in July, we always pay that. There's no option to pay it over time and really no need to. On page 2 of that, at the top, you'll see $44,000 and an expense on the North Loop here today. Once again, that's all reimbursable from the state. There's just not an invoice in on that yet. And let's see, and then on the last page, Mayor Cooley had a question on this one, and that is, so under the water fund, I have a total of $7,937.07 that was spent. That is actually going to be moved to water line repair. And that was the only thing that's in there right now. Those other projects haven't been started. And in the sewer fund, the sewer pond cleanouts, if I can talk. Most of that has been done. And I don't know if the portable pump has been done, but that is something I have not had a chance to talk to Con about. Any questions on the spreadsheet or any of the funds? So attachment number 4 is the general fund, the major revenue sources that we do a comparison of. And this is actually a 6-year comparison. I think it's interesting, but then I think all this is interesting and everybody else can go to sleep. So if you look at secured property taxes back in 16-17, it was at 213,000. It's going up, maybe going up slowly, but it's still in a trend going up. The COPS funding has increased and sales tax has increased over time. So, those are things that we try to take a look at. If you see at the 22-23, the last column, There's hardly anything in there. That's because we don't have the property tax check from the county for the first half of the year. So we normally get one in January, we get one in April, and we get a true up in July. And the VLF and lieu and the COP spending all comes through that same check, so that's why there's no amounts there. So that brings us to attachment number 5, which is the draft 23-24 budget schedule. In this case, we're looking at starting with a goals discussion at the February 22nd meeting of the City Council. And then, as you know, we go through, and most of these deadlines are staff deadlines. We do have public comment on March 22nd and April 12th as usual, and those will be we always do that. And then the City Council budget work sessions, right now we're looking at May 17th at 3 p.m. and another budget work session if it's needed on May 24th. If that May 17th date, you absolutely know right now that that doesn't work for you, please let me know, because it's very important that all council members can attend the budget workshop. And then June 7th will be the public hearing, and June 21st would be final adoption before the end of the fiscal year. So that said, anybody have any questions?
Any questions from members of council? Is there any public comment? Well, then, seeing none. Thank you for your in-depth reporting and explanation.
Looks like there was a hand up. There is a hand up.
Yes.
I wanted to say those were excellent explanations. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Any other public comment? Close public comments. And
There's no action on this. This is just informational. Thank you.
okay, we'll move on to item number 6 on our agenda. Mayor committee appointments. Review, discuss, and make changes to current committee appointments. Okay, as a part of our agenda package, we have a long list of committee assignments, and we will work through these. I will make my suggested appointments, and we will ask for comments after we've gone through the list. Now let's do it one at a time so we don't get too far afield. Number 1 on our list is the Plymouth County Integrated Waste Management Task Force. Todd Roberts is a member of that. I've been advised that I started on the wrong page. Let me back up just a moment, please. On page 89 of the agenda pack, bottom third of that sheet of paper starts with the Airport Land Use Commission. And currently we have John Kennedy and Todd Roberts in those positions. Those individuals willing to continue to serve.
So let's just discuss this and what's kind of required from us, and then maybe we can have a discussion and maybe a change made. I don't know. So historically, the ALUC, the Airport Land Use Commission, would meet when needed and possibly quarterly. The bylaws stated that you're supposed to meet monthly. So this last year, we actually had a monthly meeting, which was not necessary at all. Last meeting, it was decided that they're going to change the bylaws and meet quarterly. Now, they instead of just quarterly or as needed, they do like to have folks on that have aviation experience. I'm a pilot and I'm used to these airports, but in reality, I don't know why, because it's really about the land use around them, around the airport. It's not necessary to have really that much aviation knowledge to be on this committee. The city has obviously been part of the ALUC. If we weren't involved, it wouldn't hurt the city. But to I guess play fair, to do our part, we should probably continue. I would be perfectly happy if someone else wanted to take my place, that has shown some interest maybe in, the possible extension of the Beckworth Airfield, CAL FIRE, maybe someone on the council that has shown an interest.
Bill
I would,
Powers, would you have an interest in
I would.
committee assignment?
I would, let me give you my background, what's going on at home. We are on a parallel action that is not part of the city council's duties or responsibilities. We are seeking an initial attack fixed wing airport presence at Beckwood. And this would be adjunct to the current runway. Also, a portion just east of the Forest Service facility on the north side of the airport. A little chunk of land right in there that we think would be suitable for refueling fixed wing. And we're looking at two aircraft that actually can use the current runway. When we started down this, I was going to say runway, this,
like that.
yeah, it was, and then I didn't, that's why it isn't said now. We were thinking that we needed an extension because some of the planes that are in service now, as far as fire bombers, would need a longer extension to the runway. However, the ones we are looking at and probably the most specific to initial attack, which is the whole purpose of having them located there. Don't need the extended number. So anyway, with all that said, sure, I think. Wow.
Yes. That's the exact activity that the ALEC would have to
So
consider.
Not to it
And-
every about quarterly.
And Todd will be happy to know that he's still on the
Yeah.
committee.
Yeah.
He used to be a pilot too. So.
Okay, we'll put Bill Powers in that position in place of John Kennedy for the Airport Land Use Commission. Abandoned vehicle abatement, currently comprised of Susan Scarlett and Tom Cooley. Susan, are you willing to continue?
I'd love to.
That's worth time. Now we'll go to where I thought it was supposed to be, and it's the Plymouth County Integrated Waste Management Task Force. Roberts is currently serving, and we have a vacancy there. I believe that it's important city manager be in that position, and that's how that has been filled previously. John, are you willing to serve on that committee?
I am. All the trash that's talked about me, I would like to finally be able to talk trash myself.
Okay, we'll make that appointment and move on to Plymouth LAFCO, where currently Bill Powers and Tom Cooley are serving as commissioners and Pat Morton as an alternate. Pat Morton, are you willing to continue on the LAFCO appointment?
I'm unmuting Pat. There we go.
Yes, I'll continue on that.
And Bill Powers.
Yes, I will.
Okay, and I am as well. So we'll leave that one alone. The deal. Organization Committee. Bill Powers, are you willing to continue there?
I am. I noticed that it says I will provide some additional information. I will try to keep it a little shorter
And
than the last time I provided additional information. The deal is meeting with the regional Caltrans and highway patrol teams. We meet rather intermittently is almost too often for this. Meet and then either of those two groups seem to have a lot of conflicts. And we meet now and then. So the last time we met, I think was a year ago, more than a year ago. We meet in Susanville. It's comprised of members from each of the counties, Modoc, Lassen, Plymouth, Tehama, Shasta. And we get together and just tell the two state departments how to operate. And we listen to every word very carefully, they're very polite, and we usually have business cards. So yeah, if we ever meet, I will report out.
thank you. Next committee is the Transportation Commission. Currently, we have Stan Pyler, Bill Powers, and Susan Scarlett. Stan Pyler, are you willing to continue your service there?
As I just started with my first meeting, of course.
Very good. Bill Powers,
Yes.
Susan Scarlett.
Yes.
Okay, we'll leave that one alone. Score. John Kennedy. And Susan Scarlett is serving as an alternate at this time. I would like to make a change there and leave John in place and ask if our city clerk, Jason Shaw, is willing to serve as the alternate.
I accept.
Okay, thank you. Emergency Services Policy Committee. The committee should include the city manager and the mayor. So we have an open position now because John was not officially appointed to that committee after he started a year ago. So John, will you serve your role there as the city manager on the Emergency Services Policy Committee?
I will.
And I will replace Pat Morton as she is retired from her mayorship. And I guess that's my responsibility for this year on that committee. Finance and Administration, Tom Cooley and Pat Morton. Pat Morton, are you willing to continue on that role?
Yes.
And I am as well. Infrastructure Committee, Tom Cooley and Bill Powers. Bill, are you willing to continue? As am I. Community Development. Stan Pyler is on that committee. Stan, are you willing to continue on that? I know it's not been a very active committee, but there are times when it needs to be.
I am.
Okay. And I would like to ask Councilmember Leah Turner if she would be willing to serve as the second individual on that community development committee.
Can I ask what it entails?
Yes, I'm just going to read the description that's in here, and if that isn't quite enough, we'll flesh it out. This City of Portola Committee, which meets intermittently. Committee discusses community development issues and makes recommendations to the city council. And this committee should consist of 2 council members. The way that committee could be more active would be if the individuals who are on it observe opportunities for supporting development, whether business development or residential development. Not in the sense of going in and building houses, but things that the city can do to support the activities of both business and neighborhoods. If we had a good idea on how to strengthen our neighborhoods, that would be an appropriate committee to consider that. Among the business ownership community, if the individuals on this committee could come up with a program that would improve relations between the city and the business community, or make suggestions to that community that they think would be useful, that's something that could be brought up.
Okay, well, that sounds like something that I might be interested in, so yes, I will serve on that.
Thank you.
I'd like to add a little bit to that too.
Please do.
Councilmember Pyler was involved a bit last year with the community cleanup program, and it was kind of under the auspices of that committee member that he helped out. And as Councilmember Turner and I were talking earlier about code enforcement, and this is also probably a good opportunity to talk about a paradigm shift in code enforcement with this membership too, as part of ongoing community cleanup stuff.
Next committee on our list is the Firewise Ad Hoc Committee. Right now, Phil Olds had been serving on that, and he's no longer serving on the council, so that would not be appropriate. Bill Powers has been serving as well. The original purpose of this ad hoc committee, and we have to consider ad hoc committees, I would say more carefully, or an extra element of consideration each year as we renew them, was to be sort of an impetus to creating a Firewise committee within the community. It was never intended that the city would have a continuing role in that, because that's not consistent with the guidelines under which the Firewise committees work. It is an important committee because the activities that committee organizes during the year are reported to the state and national Firewise committee, and it is from that organization that we receive our certificate of participation. That certificate is posted on the city's website, and for some insurance companies, it is an element that helps to earn a discount, or even to be a consideration for the insurability of a property within that organization, the Portola Firewise Committee's jurisdiction. And it is, the jurisdiction of that committee is not limited to the city of Portola. It reaches out as far as wherever the next committee is. There are more and more of these being formed throughout the community, so there's no competition for membership. It's a committee that whose leadership are very concerned about being a Firewise community, and oftentimes themselves participate in doing fuel reduction work throughout the community, and that has been the role of this committee in the past. They make presentations at generally summertime events. They'll have an information table set up, for instance, at concerts in the park, and when other activities related to air quality or the soap change out program, they'll be there to help council people and give some direction about how to improve the fire safety of their own properties. So it is an important committee, and it's an important activity, but it is not the city's responsibility to continue indefinitely in its role of shepherding the formation of the committee. Val, you had comment?
Yeah, what he said. Pretty much, because of its importance to the, community at large, not the city of Portola, but the community at large. We have interactions with everybody. It's nice to come from a position that we feel that the Firewise community fits in nicely with the county fire safe council. Fire safe council is very active. They're getting consistently awarded grants for continued fire fuel production and other activities that are going to benefit us all. And because it is organized as an ad hoc, I think we can disband or just not be stationed as an ad hoc committee. But if the time comes, there's action to be taken, then we can reorganize as an ad hoc.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other comments from council members on that? We'll ask for public comment shortly. Fire Department Advisory Committee, Pat Morton. Pat, are you willing to continue working on that?
Yes.
Thank you. And that is in fact an ad hoc committee. And Tom Cooley as well. And yes, I will continue there. Again, we need to take a look at this being an ad hoc committee, and it's been going on for some time now, which is unusual that an ad hoc committee goes that for that length of time. The work has been consistent in reviewing. It started when the Portola Fire Department was caused to stand down, and we're still working on the solution for a better organization of the departments, and it got extended beyond just the city of Portola. As we all know, we have 3 partners in the project right now that is getting very close to the point where we will not need the advisory committee any longer, but until that time, I think that it is appropriate to continue that committee. Okay, let me ask at this point for public comment. Not seeing any public comment, raise your hand, please. Your yellow glove if you would like to be heard. Okay, thank you. No public comment. We'll close public comment. Any further comment from members of council? If not, I will make the appointments as stated during our discussion, going through them one by one. Jason, were you able to capture all of those appointments? Okay, thank you.
Mayor Cooley, what was the council's decision on the Firewise ad hoc? Were you considering disbanding?
Disband.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, that's correct. Okay, we will move on to the next item on the agenda. And this is number 7, appointment of an ad hoc committee for interim city manager labor negotiations. Create an ad hoc committee to serve as and be the designated labor negotiators to negotiate with the interim city manager. I would like to ask Council Member Turner if she would be willing to serve on that committee.
Yeah.
And she has said yes. And I will appoint myself as well to serve with Leah in that committee. Is there any public comment?
Well, yes. Josh Hart has a public comment.
Mr. Hart?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. So my understanding is that this council is considering hiring John Kennedy as the permanent city manager. And my question is, has the city followed legally required procedures for filling an open position? I haven't seen any city manager position advertised, and concerned that the city's not following the required procedures. I've spoken about this, we all know, before, but just to refresh your memory and for the new council members present, I've worked with many local governments over the years with plenty of policy disagreements, but I've never experienced anything like the disrespect and disdain, really contempt, that Mr. Kennedy has for members of the public. I've heard this from multiple people in town who have had negative experiences, so this is not just me. I don't like conflict, and I don't relish speaking out publicly against anyone, but there has to be accountability for the actions of public officials. If we allow public servants to get away with this type of behavior, we become an autocracy. Mr. Kennedy ridiculed disabled people online and did not retract statements or apologize when confronted about it. He attempted to block access to legally required public information, even going after members of the public individually who were requesting information. Mr. Kennedy even set up his own neighbor in Graygle in an attempt to manufacture fake public outrage at people requesting records and supposedly wasting the city's time, even though Public Records Act requires the city to be open and transparent to local taxpayers. He even went as far as going to the state legislature to try and prevent locals from accessing public records. This is not a friend of open government you have as your city manager. Mr. Kennedy, who has hired staff for Portola but was previously county supervisor, has continued to behave like an elected official. By sanctioning this behavior, the council ends up surrendering their authority to hired staff. The only thing I can think is that this council is not really interested in leading and making important decisions, and is happy to actually outsource this leadership to hired staff. Not only is this unfair to the people of Portola to outsource decisions to an unelected official, it results in greater resentment of local government and decisions made that are uninformed by public knowledge and opinion. I know lots of people who are just uncomfortable speaking at public meetings now because of the domineering attitude of Mr. Kennedy. This council may believe that political expedience outweighs democracy or public process, but cities are only healthy and only work well when the public is respected and involved in decisions and they feel welcome. I have no doubt that the recent election and changing of the guard on the council represents a dissatisfaction with the current direction of the city. People are particularly displeased with the interim city manager and failure by the council to act or even investigate the criticism that has been publicly levied. Please open the city manager position to the public in a competitive application process and consider someone who can get the job done and show respect for the public process and members of the public. Thank you. And I also have another speaker here, Heidi Hart, who would like to speak for the designated. So if she could do that right now, I'm going to pass the phone on to her.
Hi, can you hear me?
you are quite faint. Can you just speak up just a little bit more, please?
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hope you all are doing well. I just want to point out that the fact that Mr. Kennedy has just admitted that there's been a lot of trash talked about him says it all to me. I just wonder if any of your previous city managers have been moved to make such a statement. I think that certainly not your last city manager, who treated everyone with respect, kindness, and compassion. And I just think it's really telling that he's pointing out that trash has been talked about him. I mean, I just think it's sad and a bit pathetic, I'll admit. I want to point out that there's a difference between proficiency and suitability. And it seems that you may think that Mr. Kennedy is proficient, regardless of the fact that numerous members of the public have raised questions about his proficiency, but he is certainly not suitable for this position. So even if this council believes that his qualifications are in fact proficient for the task, and perhaps that may be so from a paper-pushing, red tape-setting point of view, but being a city manager requires a level of humanity and personability that Mr. Kennedy lacks. and I truly believe he is not suitable for the job. He lacks care, he lacks concern, and he lacks compassion for the Portola community. He also lacks pride in the Portola community and in the town of Portola. And there's a love for Portola that I feel every single member on the council has. And you've all shown it time and time again. And many of you have shown this love of Portola for your entire lives. And it is so impressive and inspiring. And Mr. Kennedy does not have that. I've never seen this from him. I think we're a bedroom community to him at best and a pain in the butt at worst. And I think that his personal financial record, having 22 separate liens on his properties due to not paying his taxes, has prevented him from finding gainful employment in other places. I'm sorry he can't find a job elsewhere, but why should Portola settle for less? It's inexcusable. It seems to me that the city manager position offers a very competitive salary. It's a very attractive salary. And that should be able to attract a person who is both qualified and suitable, who not only cares for the community, but has pride in the community as well, because this is a very special place to live. And those of us who can call it home are really blessed. I just don't see that from Mr. Kennedy. I really don't. And it breaks my heart. I think we can do better. I have a lot of respect for all of you on this council. I know that the reason you got involved in local government is because you care deeply about this community. In my heart, I know this is true. And in my heart, I honestly think that Mr. Kennedy lacks this care. He lacks this compassion. He does not care about this community. And these are very important qualifications for this very important job. And I just think you need to consider this, and we're counting on you, and just really look within. Sure, he fits the bill. He's there now. He knows what he's doing. He can push papers, but we deserve more. The people of Portola deserve better. And I know that you know this in your hearts. Thank you so much. I really respect and care about all of you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And we have another comment from Lindsay.
Thank you. I hear a lot of passion from the people that have talked today, and that passion is absolutely admirable. But I feel like some of the points that they brought up were heavily exaggerated. I believe that the interim city manager has proven to be effective in his role and have a deep understanding of the inner workings of city government. Continuity in leadership is important for maintaining stability and consistency in the functioning of the city. Additionally, rehiring or having good positive negotiations with the interim city manager allows for continuation of ongoing projects and initiatives, minimizes disruption and delays. Furthermore, the interim city manager has established relationships with key stakeholders and community members, which can be beneficial in achieving the city's goals. Overall, rehiring the interim city manager ensures continuity and consistency in city government operations, which can lead to long-term success for the city, which is sorely needed for Portola. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And Antoinette.
Steve. Good evening, city council members. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to chime in and say I agree with Lindsay 100%. Most of what the Heart said, in fact, everything the Heart said were their opinions and not facts. And most of those facts have already been disputed when Mr. Kennedy joined city council as well and working for the city. So those have already been points that have been disputed and proven. And so it's just really their opinion. And I know everybody on this Zoom knows that, but I just wanted to point that out. So thank you, Lindsay, for your comments, and have a good evening.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks, Steve.
Steve Gross, did you have a comment?
Good evening, council members, members of the public. Thanks for recognizing me. I just wanted to respond to a couple comments that were made. First, if I heard correctly, there's a mistaken belief that the creation of this ad hoc committee and designating them as labor negotiators is to consider negotiations for the permanent city manager position. That is not the case, as is noted on the agenda under item number 8. We're talking about negotiations for the interim city manager position, not for the permanent position. Second, there was a comment that suggested that the city is not following prescribed legal processes. I don't know if that comment was specifically in reference to the hiring of a permanent city manager or regular city manager as opposed to an interim city manager, but regardless, my response is the same. There is no prescribed legal process for hiring either the regular permanent city manager or an interim city manager, and the council has wide discretion to determine how it would like to go about either of those processes. And so the process that you're considering tonight, you have 2 agenda items that are related, items 7 and 8. In my opinion, you're fully complying with the law. You're not out of compliance in any manner. So I just wanted to make those comments for the record. Happy to answer questions.
Any questions from council? Okay. I think we're good here. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate your comments.
Yep.
Any comments from council members on the appointment of Leah and myself as the labor negotiators? Appreciate it. Hearing none, appointments will stand as made. Go on to item number 8, which is a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54-957.6. Conference with labor negotiators, city representatives, those individuals who were designated in the agenda item above. Unrepresented employee, interim city manager. We will go into closed session at this time. Sorry, but I'm not able to anticipate when we will reconvene in open session. But rest assured, we will do that. And if there is any reportable action, it will be reported at that time.
And give me a moment to work out the breakout room.